speaking of there being two teams in New Jersey / New York, let's talk about the other team from New Jersey / New York that plays in MetLife Stadium that is going to attempt to make New York proud again. The New York Jets. Stan, what should we expect tonight from the New York Jets? What should we expect from the Buffalo Bills? What should we be watching for? And who do you think wins?
A lot of questions. I'm going to start out by saying this is by far the most nervous I've ever felt for any game. By far. And it's because this is the season where my expectations are the highest. I think right now it's make it or break it time for the New York Jets. You win and you get into the playoffs and hopefully make a push for a Super Bowl, or you're probably not going to be able to do that for another 3 years. Right? If you cannot make this team work, I don't know if this organization is in the right place to make any team work. So that's what we're looking at tonight. And this game against the Bills, the third New York team, the only one that's in the state of New York, this is going to be a really exciting one. For me, there's two big questions for the New York Jets. One is, will our safety room hold up well? Last year, we had the number 3 defense in the league, and our safety room, I believe, was number 4 to the bottom. So really bad safety room on a good defense. We had quite a few guys come in. Chuck Clark, one of the big guys there, is on injury reserve. But we have Adrian Amos, we have Tony Adams stepping up, and we have Jordan Whitehead, who we had since last season. Can they make this work? The starting lineup of Jordan Whitehead and Tony Adams, can those two provide enough defensive coverage to allow our cornerbacks like Sauce Gardner, DJ Reed to actually hold on to their matchups and not have to cover half the field? That's going to be a big question. The other big question, as has been forever for the New York Jets, is our O-line. Now, we've made improvements there. We've been improving there. But this game is going to show us, against a pretty good defensive line in the Buffalo Bills and a defense overall that's been pushing heavily the last few years that gets after the quarterback. Will our O-line stand up to this defense? For the Jets is a little bit of little breath of relief because you don't have to deal with Von Miller tonight. So that's going to make it a little bit easier for that offensive line. But that defense is still a strong defense. So those are the two big questions. In regards to what to expect from the Bills, well, I'm looking a lot at that wide receiver room. You have 3 big names there: Hardy, obviously Stephon Diggs, and Gabriel Davis. I think Davis and Diggs are, very good above average wide receivers. Diggs perhaps more obviously than Davis. But they're going to go against 2 pretty good quarterbacks in DJ Reed and Sauce Gardner. Sauce Gardner, who kept so many wide receivers under 50 yards last season. So this matchup versus Diggs, who's going to meet twice this year, is going to be one of the main things I'm looking at on the field. And if the wide receivers of the Bills can get open, I have no doubt that Josh Allen's going to find them, and that is their key to victory. Now, I have Stephon Diggs on one of my fantasy teams and another, so I'm hoping he has just enough points for me to win the one I have him on, and not too many that I lose that other match. But I do think he's going to have quite the interesting, just a really heavy spotlight on him tonight. So that's where I'm looking for the Buffalo Bills. On the Bills defense, I don't think they're really any better than last year. I don't think they're a lot worse, but they're going to be about the same. The big difference again comes with losing Von Miller. And when I'm looking at that defense, that secondary has a lot of great players in that secondary. So how will they hold up against Aaron Rodgers and the wide receivers of the Jets, which also, a really strong wide receiver group there? Those are the big questions for the Bills. Finally, my expectation for the night, I think we're going to see a total of about 6 or 7 touchdowns because you have 2 really good quarterbacks with 2 really good wide receiver rooms. Now, I think it's going to be 4-3 one way, and I don't even really care enough to give a final score on this because I think that I don't think it really makes a difference in the end. But I think you're going to see a good 5 to 7, 6 to 7 touchdowns through the night.
Can you at least give us a winner?
Well, I think you know who I think is going to win. I'm definitely rooting for the Jets here.
I know who you want to win.
Well, I think they're going to win. I do think the Jets are the better team right now. The thing is, both teams have those questions, and for the Jets, those questions are a little bit more important. I think for will Diggs get open? Well, even if he doesn't, you still have tight ends. You still have a really good running back room for the Bills. So those questions aren't as heavy. While for the Jets, the questions of our safety, Josh Allen and the Bills, that's a team that can exploit having holes in that safety room. They can attack the middle of that field. And if those safeties aren't really pushing enough and keeping Allen in check, Allen's going to exploit that. So the questions for the Jets, I think, are a lot more dire. And if the Jets can answer those two questions, the Jets definitely win. I'd say 60-40% chance for the Jets. I think it really depends on will that safety room stand up and will that offensive line stand up.
Okay.
I
So
definitely think the Jets are going to win. With the way that week one has gone, I think that I had nothing against the Jets because I do think the Jets are a lot better of a team, but I think a lot of hype obviously always is surrounding Buffalo just because obviously they've been the favorites for 4 years or whatever to win the Super Bowl multiple years in a row. Obviously Kansas City came in and lost. Bengals came in and lost. I think the Jets are going to beat Buffalo, and I think it's going to be funny because I think the NFL analysts are all going to be in shambles because all their favorite teams ever are all going to be 0-1 starting the season, and I think it is time for the room of new teams. I think it is a wave of new teams because hey, Tampa Bay won yesterday. Tampa Bay won. I think there's just a lot of great football being played with some of these, younger players, and I think the Jets definitely are going to. I do think they are the better team going into tonight. Personally, I think I have high hopes for them. I think Aaron Rodgers should put on a show. I don't know how well you guys are going to do throughout the season. Obviously, you have to account for injuries and different things like that. But for a week one performance, oh yeah, I'm giving this one to the Jets too.
Also, let me throw a little bit of cultural commentary in there. I think the NFL was a little exploitative to have the New York Jets play a division rival on 9/11. I think it's very obvious what they're doing, pitting two New York teams against each other on 9/11. I think it's a little bit inappropriate from the NFL. But for New York City, the FDNY is going to be there tonight. The NYPD is going to have a lot of members there, and they're going to get honored tonight. And I think that part is also a sense of pride for the city. Growing up after 9/11 and right next to New York City, 9/11 was always the symbol of how we regrew as a city. The New York skyline will never look like what it looked back then, but look at the buildings we built there. Look at the memorial that's been built at Ground Zero. For New York City, for us as a culture of New York City, the growth after 9/11 means so much. And I think the players are not losing what that means to the city. And having the NYPD and the FDNY there, I think is also going to mean a lot to those players. It's going to bring out the best of the city because as we grew from 9/11, so has the city grown and the culture grown. So I think people as fans, we're really excited to see our team here, but it's also a big moment for us as a city so many years after 9/11, after such a devastating, terrible, terrible thing, looking at the New York City skyline, how we've regrown as a people.
I don't know that the NFL was being exploitative in a negative way. I think the Giants and the Jets have played against each other before on 9/11. It seems like it's almost become, like you said, a uniting thing. And that's something beautiful about sports. That's part of why we started the podcast is sports brings people together. And what better way to do that for the NFL by bringing New York together on September 11th.
Yeah.
So I agree. I think it'll be a beautiful way to bring the team together. I do want to give my pick, though, and because I'm going to go against the grain here. I do think that on paper, the New York Jets are a better team. However, I know it's Aaron Rodgers, but he hasn't been in a regular season game with these guys yet. They might not have the chemistry. Alan Lazard, yes, but I'm mainly thinking Garrett Wilson. So I think it's going to be a very close game. It's going to be a very fun game to watch. I'm going to go with the Bills, 27-24. I think a field goal is going to separate them. They're getting some guys back on defense they didn't have last year. Yes, they lost Von Miller, but I think the Diggs to Allen relationship is going to beat the Rodgers to Wilson relationship.
I appreciate your take. I guess we'll see tonight. I mean, Yeah, I mean that's all I've got. I was just whenever Stan brought up the exploiting thing, I think that just kind of like threw me off because I didn't even realize that either. I mean, I know it's supposed to be a uniting thing, but just yeah, the way that he said it, I just was like, oh my gosh, this is so true. But I mean, it wouldn't put it past me that the NFL would be doing this for views either. Um, but that's here nor there. Um, it'll represent the city very good tonight because, you know, as we've already mentioned through Stan. So, but still very interesting that they had the Giants, or not the Giants, the Jets play the Buffalo Bills on Monday night on 9/11 anniversary. But I hope it does show uniting tonight. And I'm glad that they're going to honor people tonight because they need to. Because if they didn't, that would be stupid. That would have just been like a troll at that point. Like that would have been stupid. So, but we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens in the in this game tonight.
I will say I definitely do see the uniting factor of having the 9/11 match. It does leave a weird taste in your mouth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because like and also the way like you're like I don't like how the NFL exploited it. I like kind of like
The
chuckled
phrasing,
at that. Yeah, because I was like, yeah, the NFL leave it to the NFL to plan two New York teams to play on the anniversary of 9/11. But then you got into the deeper culture meaning of it and the fact that they're actually going to represent people from like the NYPD and stuff, and like that's awesome. But like if they would have done none of that, I would have been just like, what the heck, NFL? Never forget 9/11, and they're not going to remember it, but they are, and I'm glad because this is bigger than football in the end.
Well, this has been a great show. I did not expect to end it on that note, but we cycled back. We talked about 9/11 to begin, and now we're talking about it at the end.